Part 1: The Joke. The first time the aliens noticed her, they laughed. It wasn't the cruel, mocking laughter of conquerors. It was the amused chuckle of scientists observing an ant carrying a crumb 10 times its size. To the Zorati, humanity was already a footnote in the cosmic archives, a species too primitive to bother exterminating. They had come to Earth not to invade, but to document its final days before the sun's expansion rendered it uninhabitable. And then there was Dr. Ilara Voss, a disgraced exobiologist turned conspiracy theorist. Ilara had spent years screaming into the void about alien visitations, only to be dismissed as a lunatic. When the Zorati finally descended in their shimmering fractal ships, she was the only human who didn't panic. She walked right up to their emissary, a towering crystalline entity named Xyrix, and said, "Took you long enough." The Zorati found this hilarious. To them, Ilara was a cosmic punchline, a hairless ape who somehow expected them. They scanned her, poked her, and in a gesture of patronizing amusement, granted her a single request before they left Earth to its fate. Ilara didn't ask for salvation. She didn't beg for mercy. She asked for a library. Not just any library. The complete archives of the Zorati Empire, every scrap of knowledge they had ever collected. Xyrix's laughter echoed through the ruins of New York. "You can't even read our language," it said. Ilara smirked. "Give me time." The Zorati, amused by her audacity, obliged. They dumped a single data crystal into her hands, 1,000,000,000,000 years of knowledge compressed into a shard no bigger than her thumb, and left, still laughing. They never expected her to win. Part 2: The Scholar. The Earth died. Ilara watched from orbit. Alone in a derelict Zorati scout ship she had reverse-engineered from their archives. The sun swelled, oceans boiled, and humanity's cradle turned to ash. But she wasn't helpless anymore. The data crystal was more than just information, it was a key. The Zorati had underestimated human stubbornness. Ilara spent decades decoding their language, their physics, their history. She learned of the 1,000 empires that had risen and fallen, of the wars fought over forgotten causes, of the true reason the Zorati never feared humanity. They believed legacy was meaningless. To them, civilizations were like fireflies, bright, brief, and ultimately insignificant. They archived dead cultures the way humans collected fossils, with detached curiosity. Ilara disagreed. She rebuilt. She modified the scout ship, grew clones from preserved DNA, and resurrected not just humans, but their art, their music, their stories. She taught them everything the Zorati had discarded as trivial. And then she went looking for answers. The Zorati hadn't just observed the universe, they had shaped it. Their archives held the locations of hidden worlds, lost technologies, and the greatest secret of all, the Celestial Throne, a machine built by a long-dead race to judge the worth of civilizations. Whoever controlled it could rewrite history. Part 3: The Queen. The Zorati found her again on the edge of the Caecilian Rift, standing before the Celestial Throne. This time they weren't laughing. "You were a joke," Xyrix hissed, its crystalline form flickering with rage. "A pet project." Ilara, now centuries old but preserved by Zorati biotech, smiled. Around her stood the last children of Earth, not as refugees but as heirs. "You archived us," she said. "But you forgot one thing." She placed her hand on the throne. "Stories matter." The machine activated. The universe shuddered. The Zorati Empire had no myths, no legends, just cold, endless records. But humanity had sagas. The throne judged civilizations not by their technology, but by the weight of their narrative. And in that moment, the Zorati realized their mistake. Ilara Voss, the laughingstock, the madwoman, the last human, became something they could never comprehend. A queen without a kingdom, ruling over the only thing that outlasts empires. Memory. The Zorati faded, not with a war, but with a whisper, erased from history, reduced to a footnote in humanity's archives. And Ilara. She sat upon the throne, surrounded by the echoes of every story ever told, and smiled. Let's begin. Epilogue. The legacy eternal. The celestial throne hummed with power, its ancient mechanisms resonating with the weight of Ilara's will. Around her, the last remnants of humanity, now reborn, now more, stood in silent reverence. The Zorati were gone, not just defeated, but unwritten, their empire reduced to a single line in the archives they had once thought to control. But Ilara was not done. She closed her eyes and reached into the throne's depths, commanding it to weave a new destiny. The machine trembled, its energy rippling across the cosmos like a stone cast into a still pond. Worlds flickered into existence. Not just planets, but stories given form. Earth rose again, not as it was, but as it could have been, a gleaming jewel of civilization untouched by ruin. The great cities of humanity stood immortal, their towers stretching into skies untainted by war. The art, the music, the dreams that had once been lost now thrived, echoing through the stars. And the people, they remembered, not just their own lives but the lives of those who had come before. The poets, the rebels, the forgotten, every soul that had ever mattered. The throne had judged them worthy, and in doing so, it had granted them the one thing the Zorati had denied them: future. Xyrix's final words haunted the void. You cannot outrun entropy, it had said. All things end. Ilara smiled. No, she whispered. All things transform. Asterisk. She stood from the throne, no longer just a woman, no longer just a queen. She was something older now, something mythic. A guardian of memory. A weaver of legacies. The universe stretched before her, infinite and waiting. And so, with her people beside her and the stars as her witness, Ilara Voss took her first step into eternity. The story was only just beginning.